everybody, if I could have your attention, please, we would like to get started. Welcome to chapel. Before we turn to today's speakers, I have two announcements. First, I want to recognize Abby Quimby, who was selected as a finalist in the National Merit Scholarship Competition. Let me tell you just a little bit about this. Of the 1.5 million applicants who submitted a PSAT score, there are 7,250 National Merit Scholarship winners. This means students have less than a 1% chance of becoming a National Merit Scholar, making this the most competitive merit-based scholarship. All these finalists are considered for one of 2,500 scholarships totaling $2,500. Recipients like Abby must have exceptional PSAT scores, but also a record of outstanding academic performance, which Abby certainly does. Abby, please come get this certificate recognizing your outstanding accomplishment, and please extend a round of applause to Abby Quimby. Second, I'm pleased to notify you that our guest speaker at the 2025 commencement in late May will be legendary basketball coach Jim Calhoun. Each year we ask a guest to join us and share remarks as we celebrate this special day for our seniors, their families, and our school. You can see more details about Coach Calhoun on our school website, but I will just mention here that he is a legendary figure in our state, but also nationally and internationally as one of the very greatest coaches. In the 1980s, he took over a regional program at UConn, and over the next 26 years turned it into a three-time national champion. He is a member of the National Basketball Hall of Fame right near us in Springfield, which is the highest honor in the sport. I have known Coach Calhoun for several years, and he has always been very complimentary to me about our school, Suffield's exceptional quality, beauty, and warmth. I know he's excited to join us on May 23rd. We will begin today's chapel with Jake Brook, and when Herman finishes his remarks, he will be excused to G period. Jake.
Although hard on a day like today, picture yourself on a warm, sunny day in the midst of July. Instead of on the beach or by the pool with your friends, picture yourself driving. You've just gotten a new car and you're headed home after a few hours of work. For the youngins, this is a lesson for when you get your license. You enter the highway and start to feel upbeat. Shout out Mr. Sullivan in the moon meter. Now you're driving at a speed exceeding the speed limit. You look in the rearview mirror and see a car. This distant car seemed to be approaching very quickly. The car looks similar to a police officer's, but you're not 100% sure. Suddenly you know it's a police officer when the flashing blue and red lights come on right behind you. Now I don't have to imagine this sequence because this was me over the summer, and I'm sure some of the older folk in this space have had a similar experience. Me being the intelligent young man I am realized I'm being pulled over. To shorten the story a little, I got a $355 speeding ticket and immediately went home to pay it, not telling my parents. Being under the age of 18 made the situation a whole lot worse. I ultimately lost my license for 3 months, had to go to a 4-hour how to drive safely class on my 18th birthday, and either walk to school or get a ride from my mother for the first half of this year. The bright side of the story is that I've been living in a small condo behind the village market during school time for the past 4 years now, so walking to school wasn't anything new to me. When people ask me if I'm a day student or a boarder, I answer with, I'm a day student, but basically a boarder. In reality, I'm from a small town in Massachusetts on the border of New Hampshire, and if my family didn't travel so often, I would have been a boarder like my friends and my brother for his first 2 years. Living in a small condo for my first 2 years with my brother, mom, dad, two cats, and a dog was crazy. Luckily, freshman and sophomore year were simple and went by quickly having my brother by my side. But when junior year rolled around, it was suddenly just me and sometimes my parents living in the condo. When my parents were there, they helped me do my laundry, clean any dirty dishes, and make sure everything was good with me. My parents have always made me a better person due to my brother and his questionable decisions. Joey, being the poor decision-making kid he is, has gotten himself constantly yelled at for. A couple instances when my parents crashed out on him was when he hosted a party in the condo while my parents and I were away for a weekend, only for us to come back to a note on the front door from our neighbor saying, it sounded like elephants were playing rugby on Saturday night. Or the time I posted a fake Ohio State commitment post of him, resulting in a double black eye for me. Or the time he got tracked down at 3 a.m. when he faked my parents' email and told the school he was signing out for the weekend just to go to a party 2 hours off campus. When my brothers' mistakes, my parents have taught me that people make mistakes, but we hopefully learn from them. Lastly, I want to give thanks to some people who have impacted my time at Suffield, but also my life. The kitchen crew for always keeping me full, thanks guys. Ms. Salvatelli for somehow getting me into college, thank you. Shout out Mr. Atkins for our encounter yesterday. Mr. Brown, you're like an older brother to me. From you, my English teacher for 2 years, but also a coach and your only advisee for 4 years. You've taught me that actions have consequences, to leave class if you feel like leaving class, and to line up on the 40. For this, I thank you, and I'm grateful you were part of my Suffield experience. Mom and Dad, I'm quiet most of the time, and I know I don't say it enough, but I love you. And my grandparents, without you two, I don't know where me and Joey would be right now because you've given us endless opportunities to be successful. And for this, I thank and love you both. And for the Suffield community, my name is Jake Brook, a 4-year student from Northfield, Massachusetts. Don't speed, make good decisions, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your year. Thank you.
Hi Suffield, I'm Charlie Gamere from Holbrook, Massachusetts. I remember being an 8th grader and going through the process of applying to private schools. All my friends were applying to private schools in the greater Boston area, and I figured I'd go to one of them as well. Suffield was honestly an afterthought for me. I didn't want to board and be away from home and be away from my friends and family. Every time I thought of actually going to Suffield, I couldn't picture myself doing it. But as I got deeper into the process, I began to realize the unique opportunity a boarding school like Suffield offered. The day schools I was applying to just couldn't compete, and I felt like I couldn't deny myself this opportunity. As I came to this understanding, I began to warm up to the opportunity of leaving home. I figured it could be beneficial. I wouldn't have to do chores around the house, and I wouldn't have to wash dishes, because who likes washing dishes? I vividly remember day 1 advisory meetings with Mr. Morgan and him telling us our work job requirements. When I applied to Suffield, they didn't tell me about work job requirements, so I was a bit confused. And when he told me I was assigned to dish crew where I had to wash dishes, the confusion turned into immediate disappointment. Nevertheless, I went through with my requirement. At first, it wasn't great due to the absence of sit-down lunch, since we're still recovering from the pandemic. So after lunch, when everyone got to go hang out with their friends in the union, I was stuck washing dishes. I contemplated leaving many times and watched many people come and go, but I figured it was a good way to get in with the upperclassmen at the time. They assured me it would be great once sit-down lunch came back. And they were right, because I've been on dish crew throughout my 4 years at Suffield and have never had to experience sit-down lunch, and that's something I'm very content with. When you eat here every day at that table, you grow a community. When I look back at my time here, many of my best memories happened at that table or back in the kitchen. I've made many friends, built relationships, and had countless memories that would have never happened if I hadn't stuck it out a couple years ago. If there's anything I could take away from my experience, it's that it isn't always about the now. It would have been very easy for me to quit back when I was at the bottom and there was no sit-down lunch. It was really not fun whatsoever back then, but I always looked ahead. I understood I could lead this crew one day and not have to work the same way I did. This mindset can be applied to many experiences we go through in this life. Hebrews 12:11 says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. So trust the Lord, and thank you guys.
Hello, Suffield. My name is Charles Clutis, and I'm a 3-year senior from San Francisco, California. Today, I'm going to tell you about how I got here and some things I learned. 4 years ago, I attended a day school back in San Francisco. I went here my freshman year and the beginning of my sophomore year, until some things happened and I ended up having to leave. Here's what I learned. Lesson number 1, digital footprint is very real. It's all fun and games until the group chat gets leaked. But seriously, actions have consequences. I've heard people say you shouldn't post anything you wouldn't be comfortable with your grandma seeing, and honestly, they're right. If you're going to do or say something out of pocket, do it in person. After leaving my previous day school, I had spent the rest of that year at a one-on-one school. For some perspective, the entire school campus at this new school would fit in this gym. Needless to say, going there for 8 months was brutal. However, being there for that long was a very sobering experience. It made me realize how much I'd taken for granted at all the other schools I'd ever been at, like having other kids in the class or being around people with similar interests. But everything changed in March when I got into Suffield. Now I had something to look forward to. At that point, I kept telling myself I just needed to make it to September and to Suffield, and all my problems would be solved. Eventually, September came around, and I got here, and everything was perfect. Until 2 weeks later, I got sent to the Hill. Anyways, I'd like to take this time to thank some people. To Coach Kamir, Mr. Atkins, Mr. Cam, Mr. Newland, Mr. Dunbar, Chris Brown, Cuba Birnbaum, and Coach Setti for everything you've done. And most importantly, to my parents for never giving up on me. In closing, God works in mysterious ways. You never know when a mistake can be a blessing in disguise. The most important lesson I learned from this experience is that you can't let your past define you. Everybody makes mistakes and has regrets, but if you dwell on your past and can't move forward, you'll never overcome it. So if there's any advice I could give to you, it would be to trust the plan, put in the work, and you never know where you might end up. Shout out to the greats, and shout out to Daniel Lee. God bless.
Hello, Suffield. I'm O'Shea Maxwell, a 2-year senior from Montreal, Canada. I wanted to come up here and talk about my relationship with my grandpa. If you're one of my friends or someone in the dorm, you probably heard me speak about our relationship or his cooking. Throughout my childhood, he lived with me, and on nights when my mom and dad had to work, he would spend the night and take care of my brother and I. He would make sure my brother and I were good. Even if we weren't hungry, he would make sure we were full. At the time, I took these little things for granted. As my teenage years came, he moved out and started to focus on his life, and I was so caught up in mine with football and school. Our relationship started to get distant, where I was only able to see him on holidays or every third weekend. This hurt me real bad, and probably you as well, Grandpa. I should have came over or at least called you more like I do now. But now I spend every minute with you. When I'm in the city and in church, the days when I'm with you. You bring me at peace, Grandpa, and not a lot of people have done that in my life, I can say. Probably goes for the same for y'all as well. That's why I cherish every minute with mine. Now, I'll be giving a few thank yous to those I'm thankful for. Again, thank you, Grandpa, for every meal and every spoken knowledge you gave me. I'm forever grateful for you. Love you, Grandpa. And when I'm back in the city, I'll make sure to spend time watching cable TV with you. Now, for my mom, you're my rock for real. For my highs and lows, you've been there nonstop, sacrificing, working countless hours just to see your two sons smile. Thank you for everything you've done for me, and thank you for shaping me into the man I am today. To little bro Adrian, I know we didn't have the closest bond when we were kids, but now we're closer than ever, and I'm forever grateful for that. Go be great at whatever you do, little bro. Love you, Adrian. To my pops, thank you for making your son a hard-working athlete and a route runner. But besides that, seriously, thank you for everything. You're trying to be a better version of yourself, Pop. I love you. And big shout out to my cousins, my brothers for life, Shakur, Xavier, and Trey. Y'all been there supporting me throughout this football journey since the beginning. I'm forever grateful for y'all. I promise the hard work is going to pay off. Love y'all. And shout out to Coach Setti, Coach Dunbar, and Coach Brown. For the past 2 years, y'all been putting up with me, and it's been one heck of a run. Thank you. And big shout out to the Fuller dorm cousins and the dorm parents. It's been fire and turn, but it's not over. We still got to cherish these moments with the boys and the remaining time we got here. I hope y'all have a good day. Thank you.
What's good, Suffield? My name is Gabriel Rivera, and I'm a 4-year senior from Brooklyn, New York. I just want to start by thanking our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without him, nothing is possible. Today, I'll be telling you about my roommates. First, we start our freshman year with Mac Norton. This duo had to be the most unsuspecting roommates of all time. Mac and I have nothing in common. I mean, look at it. We both played 2 different sports, we were both from 2 different areas, but I can say we clicked in some things. The beginning of the year was a struggle for the both of us. We would often argue about every little thing, and it seemed like we could never be on the same page. To be 100% honest, he pushed all my buttons and gave me tight. I hated Mac the entirety of the fall term. For example, when I was showering, he and Bernard started to wrestle in her room. I get out of the shower, and as I walk into the room, Mac pushed Bernard up into the bed. Or should I say out of bed, as they were bunked. Now mind you, these beds are the most unsturdy thing known to man. One gust of wind could knock the top bed over. I saw Bernardo's body fly into the bed frame and thought to myself, oh yeah, I'm witnessing a murder right now. The bed frame shook, and all I see is the top bunk completely fall onto the floor. I stood at the door in awe, and all types of negative thoughts about my roommate started flooding through my brain. Just by this, you can tell us as roommates wasn't gonna last. Somehow it did. As the year progressed, I tolerated Mac's immaturity more and more, and now we're even closer. Then there's Charlie Zodizzle. My bad, as you guys know him, Charlie, the side character in the mirror. We clicked instantly. We both have many things in common. He likes baseball, I like baseball, I like Drake, he loves Drake. He has a brother, I have a brother. Let me shout out Crow Popo. Even though he denied my offer to be my roommate, he would make his way into my room at night and I would wake up and step in his face as he was sleeping on my floor. Charlie became my right-hand man at the school. He taught me discipline, hard work, and how to maintain my luscious curls. We would wake up before the crack of dawn and go to the turf to get some sprint work in or go to Belleville and run some hill sprints. He's been there for me through my ups and downs and those late night talks we have about our future will never be forgotten. Nothing about these 3 years was negative besides the fact that he tagged me on the Tiger tag last year. My best dorm experience was the triple I had in photo with Nowalski and Charlie. For those of you that don't know, Nowalski is my brother and the person I looked up to my whole life. He has been a role model to me, and even though I have lived with him my entire life, rooming with him is a whole different experience. I'm not about to yap about Noel because I'll be up here for years. I love you, Brody, and go cut it out there in Marys. I want to shout out my parents and family for always being there for me. Shout out to the guys that know who you are. Shout out to St. Breeze, Coach Brissett, and everyone who was going to be along the way. I want to end this off with one of my favorite Bible verses. Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be achieved. Proverbs 16:3. Thank you.
Hello, Suffield. My name is Ben White, and I'm a one-year day student and three-year boarder from West Hartford, Connecticut. After reflecting on my freshman year, I realized I wasn't satisfied with being a day student at Suffield. Hearing countless stories from my grandpa Steve Delaquila of Suffield Academy class of 1956 from when he was a student here, I knew if I wanted a full Suffield experience, I would have to come aboard. And that's exactly what I did. This ended up being my best decision at Suffield. My roommate sophomore year was Josh Kim. Living with an international student has changed my life forever. Josh brought with him different habits and perspectives that are different from mine. Trust me to live with him while leaving his family, and I trust him in return. By living together, we formed a bond that would never be broken. Through Josh, I've learned new ways to attack my work, habits for self-improvement, my mentality, and how to live on my own without my family. Seeing him take his schoolwork so seriously and spending free time focusing on studying was something I had never witnessed as a day student. I found it inspiring that someone my age could be mature about wanting to be a good student and balance that with sports and social life. From being dependent on family to becoming independent by myself is a really big deal for me. It has made me grow as a person. Thank you, Kim. When it came time to choose my roommates for the next school year, I had no idea who I was going to be with. I considered rooming with Josh Kim again, but he decided to be a proctor in an underclassmen dorm, and I knew I didn't have the patience for that. I ended up in a triple with Josh Demir, Bernardo, and Powers. Since they were roommates the previous year, and I was already good friends with them, it felt natural. There's something special about having people who make your days easier, and turn the stress at school into laughter, and who remind you that you're never alone in this experience. Our room quickly became more than just a place to sleep. It was a place to decompress after long days, to have late-night debates over the most random topics, and creating inside jokes that stick with you for life. What makes boarding school so unique is it's not just the academics or the structure, but the people you go through, the friendships you form in those late-night conversations, the moments of shared frustration over schoolwork, the times you find yourself laughing so hard you can't breathe. Those are the things that stick with you forever. I realize that the people you surround yourself with can shape your entire experience. I'm grateful to have had roommates who not only welcomed me in, but have made my junior year special. Thank you, Josh. Our roommate this year is Anthony Greco. I knew from the start we were going to be a good fit, not just because we play the same sports, but because we relate to each other. We share similar mindsets and the same competitive drive to get better. My favorite memory so far was the first dance of the school year. Somehow, 27 football players ended up crammed into our room. Just imagine, Fuller Hall, end of summer, peak humidity, no AC, and just pure chaos. The room smelled like a mix of sweat, way too much cologne, and a team that had just gone through a tough preseason. But somehow, in the middle of all that discomfort, something unspoken clicked. There's a certain kind of bond that forms when you're all suffering together, shoulder to shoulder. Moments like that remind me why this experience is so special. Boarding school isn't just about academics or sports, it's about the people. It's about the late nights, the shared struggles, the inside jokes, and the times you realize that home isn't just a place, it's the people in it. Now I'd like to give a couple of thank yous. Thank you, Mr. Brown, for being more than just a teacher. You've been a coach, mentor, and friend. And I truly appreciate knowing that I can always come to you for guidance or simply to catch up about life. Thank you, Mrs. Rivers, for putting up with me these past 4 years. You have spent countless hours working with me, and it may not seem like it, but I truly am thankful for it. Thank you, Dad, for being my best friend. I can count on one hand the amount of games you have missed, and that just shows how much you have been there for me. I'm so grateful to have you as my dad. Thank you, Mom, for everything you've done for me. You are honestly the strongest person I know, and I'm forever thankful for you. Put everyone else before yourself, and your love and sacrifices never go unnoticed. You're truly the best. My stepmom, Sue, thank you for stepping into my life with so much love and kindness. Your support, patience, and care mean the world to me, and I truly appreciate everything you have done for me. You've always treated me like your own, and I'm so grateful for the bond we share. Shout out to the boys in Fuller. You guys have made my senior year the best one yet, filled with unforgettable moments that will carry with me for a lifetime. Thank you.
Hello, Suffield. My name is Servin, and I'm a 3-year senior from Moscow, Russia. Now I've lived in the United States for about 5 years, and over this time, the place I call home has changed for me. Sometimes I feel more like an international kid in Moscow than I do in Suffield. Most of my conversations with my brother, even in Moscow, are in English, which has been really surprising to hear from my parents and slightly concerning for my grandparents. Many of my friends in Russia are also fluent in English, and we often speak when we go out in Moscow. It is always interesting to see people's reaction to it. Countless times I've seen people on the street look back at us with a confused or even disturbed look on their face. Or one time I saw a guy on the street wave to us and shout out, "Hello, Americans," with a big smile on his face. I think my experience in moving to study abroad has been slightly easier. I never felt a language barrier since I learned English when I was very young. I also attended a British school in Moscow for a couple of years, but then my parents thought that it wasn't strict enough for their students. So I've attended a Russian public school until 8th grade. And if that was the baseline of the type of discipline they should teach at school, the British school does seem more like a kid's playground, and so does Suffield. But it did develop a strong work ethic in me, and the difference in culture was made up by the summers I've spent at camps here. I quickly adapted to the new life in New York, but always thought of Moscow as my true home. After almost 3 years of living in the US, around the time I came to Suffield, that began to change for me. I didn't know what to consider my home anymore. Even though I lived and spent most of my time at Suffield, it is only my school, and I haven't actually lived in Moscow for a while now and lost many of the connections I've had with people there. Though this has caused some confusion in me, I also believe that it helped me remember my purpose in being here and stay focused on my goals here. I might not know where my home is yet, but I clearly see my path in Suffield, which is the first step of my academic journey in the States. Now I'd like to thank the people who helped me along my path. Thank you to all my friends, you know who you are, for making this experience so enjoyable and unforgettable. I'd like to thank all of my teachers for their hard work in providing us with knowledge and useful skills to help us succeed in our lives. I want to thank my advisor, Mr. Riegel, and my college counselor, Ms. Chan, for guiding me along this path and always supporting me, my family, to my grandparents, бабушки, дедушка, я вас очень люблю, спасибо за ваш вклад в мое воспитание. To my brother, Artur, I hope you will learn from my mistakes and successes and strive on your own path. To my mom, I'm infinitely grateful for your love and care. It is what drives me to always improve and strive to become the best version of myself. I love you very much. Finally, to my dad, your work ethic, strength, and determination inspires me. You instilled unique and valuable qualities in me, which helped me build my character and grow my ambitions. I'm lucky to be your son. Thank you and have a nice day.